All right, if you've taken chemistry, this is actually probably the hardest one for you because, let's be honest, I didn't teach it very well last year. But naming an acid is a science in of itself. Nomenclature for an acid. So if you've never dealt with chemistry before, you might be going, well, what exactly is an acid? For the purpose of this lecture, we will say an acid is any compound that starts and has hydrogen as the cation, and then any other anion is what we'll call an acid. When you're taking AP, we will eventually expand the definition of what an acid is, but for right now, the basic definition of an acid is something that starts with hydrogen. If it starts with hydrogen, it's probably an acid, and you're going to want to name it as such. Since hydrogen is in a group or in the same family as metals, it has some metallic properties. And so when we name acids, which all start with hydrogen, all have hydrogen as the first element, as the cation, we're going to name them as ionic compounds first. Start by naming the compound as an ionic compound. So for example, this first one, hydrogen and chlorine. Hydrogen is the cation. Chlorine, which is an anion, becomes chloride. So this would be hydrogen chloride. Since hydrogen's not a transition metal, you don't need to worry about Roman numerals ever when it comes to naming an acid. So this is hydrogen chloride. This next one would be hydrogen chlorate. And lastly, over here we have hydrogen chlor, and one less oxygen than 8 makes it chlorite. Now that you've gotten them named, now that you have them named as ionic compounds, you know that they're an acid because they start with hydrogen. So there are 3 cases in which you're going to change the name of the ionic compound, change the name of the acid to an acid of some sort. All acids are going to end in the name acid. So let's start with first, if you have something that ends in I, if it ends in I, you're going to drop the I and change it to ic. And this is the only time that you keep the hydrogen in some sense. Every other time, you're going to drop hydrogen. So I becomes ic, acid. And we keep the hydrogen, but we drop the gen part of it. And we make it one word. So this becomes hydrochloric acid. The way that I personally remember this is, if you've ever seen Forrest Gump goes through this whole life pining after Jenny, who turns out to be not the best choice for a mate, because Jenny does not share his feelings and kind of makes poor life decisions. And every time I see that movie, I'm like, Forrest, don't choose her. She's the worst person in the world. And if I'd been Forrest, I'd drop Jen, and because she's an icky person. When you're in class, I'll say that in different terms. Don't record me. But I'd drop Jen because she's icky. So hydro, drop the Jen. Ide drops to ic, acid. So hydrochloric acid. All right, next case is if the acid, if the name of the ionic compound ends in 8. So case 2, if it ends in 8, you drop hydrogen completely. And all you do is change 8 to ick and add the word acid. So I remember this as I ate icky acid. So this is chloric acid. Lastly, is if the name of the acid, when it's an ionic compound, we name it as ionic compound, ends in ite. You drop hydrogen completely again. Remember, the only time we're going to keep hydro is when we have I. So again, we're going to drop hydrogen completely, and ite becomes us, O-U-S, acid. So this HClO2 would be chlorous acid. So you can remember it. I dropped Jen because she's an icky acid. I ate icky acid. I have no really cutesy way of saying I, us. Maybe it's alright by us, but I've got nothing cute for you to remember that one by. Just got to memorize it. I goes to ick, goes to hydroic acid. Nope, I think my computer just exploded. Try that again. There you go. So this becomes hydroic acid, ate becomes ick acid, and ite becomes us acid. And now you know how to name acids.